we're starting 13 Unit 13, and it's quadratic equations. All of 11, and all of 12 was helping you to get to 13. So I'm going to say ax squared plus bx plus c is what you have been factoring. When you set that equal to 0, that is considered a quadratic equation. And in a quadratic equation, the parent quadratic equation is going to look like a U, and we'll talk about it more later. But when you factor it, so you have x squared plus 3x plus 2, and you factored it to x plus 1 and x plus 2, I can easily graph this by right here, and I know that it looks like this. So we're going to take this information and we're going to find the points. We're going to go from here to find the points like here. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is a number times 0 equals 0. And we all know that. And we're going to use this fact, a number times 0 equals 0, throughout this unit. Okay, so we're going to solve solving quadratic equations by factoring, which factoring you did all of last unit. So 8 times what equals 0? Any number. 8 times 0. Sorry. 8 times 0. I got these backwards. 8 times 0 equals 0. And any number. Sorry, did that one backwards. And 0 times any number. Okay? So if A times B equals 0, what must be true for A or B? A has to be 0. Or B has to be 0. So the biggest thing that you're going to do in all of solving quadratics is number 1, set equation equal to 0. If it's not set equal to 0, you have to get it equal to 0 before you apply this information. That is the number 1 thing to do, and we'll show you as we go along. So of course they're going to start with them equal to 0. So if I'm looking this, it's like A has to be 0 or B has to be 0. So if the X was a 0, then that whole thing would be a 0. It could be 0 times that. If X minus 2, the blob equaled 0, then it would still be 0. So you're going to do 2 things to find 2 solutions. X equals 0, we're going to say that blob equals 0. Or X minus 2 equals 0, so X is 2. So if I plug a 2 in here, 2 minus 2 is 0, 0 times, so watch. If I plug a 2, it would be 2 times 2 minus 2. 2 times 0 is 0. That checked out. If I plugged a 0 in here, it would be 0 times negative 2. That checks out, because that'll be 0. Likewise, if I make this blob equal to 0, or if I made this blob equal to 0. So I'm going to pull the 3 over. So if X equals 3, because if I put 3 minus 3, that makes it a 0. 0 times anything is 0. And if I have X equals negative 4, it would be negative 7 times 0, which would still be 0. So for shown work, yes, I need you to state what you're setting equal to 0, and then you have to let me know what X is. And I'm okay that I can see that you're going to pull that over. But you're going to make this statement, and then you're going to tell me what X is. Because they are going to get complicated as we go, and they're going to do more steps. So if this entire blob, 2n minus 4 equals 0, or 3n plus 5 equals 0. If any of that happens, then the whole thing would be 0. Because if I plug it back in, that means that would make that a 0. So 3n equals negative 5. N equals negative 5/3. That would be negative 5 plus 5, which would be 0, and it would check out. 2n equals 4. N equals 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 minus 4 is 0. That would make that whole thing a 0. 0 times anything is 0. So your answers are, if n equals 2 or n equals negative 5/3, they are solutions to n. And when you have equations that say ax squared plus bx plus c, that too means there's at most 2 solutions. So that's why you're going to have it. Notice we now have it not factored. We have it here. So we're going to have to factor first. Negative 28, negative 56. Signs are different, minus and plus, and a negative 1, which is negative 8 and positive 7. And the only thing that goes into 2 and 7 is 1. So that's a 7, that's a 4, that's a 2, that's a negative. So I have 2x plus 7 times x minus 4 equals 0. So we went back to unit 12 to get that part. And then I say 2x plus 7 equals 0, or x minus 4 equals 0. X equals 4. When x equals 4, that is a true statement. 2x equals negative 7. X equals negative 7 over 2. That would make it a true statement. So there's your 2 solutions. I'm going to pause that before I continue on to the next page.